for people that don't know, Tucci, a great mentor, and for many people, he's known throughout much of Mississauga from Xavier people as a great teacher, and he has a lot of knowledge, and he's just spitting facts.
Yeah, but if I get chastised by my admin team for like they told me don't teach Bitcoin, and I was like,
so see, I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
So exactly. So obviously you're an educator. How many years have you been like educated at this point?
well, 21 years now. I take that in. Yeah, no, 20. Yeah, literally, because I started in 2000, right?
Yeah.
So 21 years.
So right when I was born, 2000.
Yeah.
That's when you started.
Yeah.
And education, obviously, from when that is it a completely different ball game right now, or
No,
there
it's
still
the
things
no.
that are
What?
the same?
Well, technology has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Technology has shifted education, but we're not embracing it in the true sense of how we should, because I still will walk up to classes and see desks in rows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did that in the 1900s when they were teaching for the Industrial Revolution era. Like for businesses, they wanted factory people in rows, right? They wanted good soldiers. So we have to educate them so when they get older, they follow these rules. A classroom should not be like that today. And it still is.
So how would you envision a classroom if that was the perfect way?
It's shared knowledge with the teacher as the figurehead, the mentor,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still sharing ideas. And I'm challenging your thought. I'm making you think about certain things in a certain perspective. There's a discipline, there's a mindset. And when I started my podcast, I started with that idea, and then it just kind of morphed into something else. But the whole concept is you need discipline in life.
Yep.
So I was explaining to him. I said, basically what we do is create these systems to save ourselves from us. So I don't care. Let's take specifically sports betting. I don't care if I love a game because LeBron's out, Anthony Davis is out. The Lakers might be a play, according to my system.
So you don't even look at it from the perspective of a fan anymore.
There are games where one of Pat's friends that I did a Zoom call with, he said, and one of the I can't remember. We were going live. I was talking about crypto with them. I was doing a Zoom call about crypto. They wanted to get into that, and then they were so interested because they bet on sports. They were so interested with one of my Fade the Public type systems. And I said, yeah, I don't even know who's playing. He goes, it was for the Thunder. He goes, don't you know that this guy's not playing? I go, no, I didn't even know that. And that team covered the spread. He goes, but you bet them not knowing? I go, I don't know anything about any player. Ask me 5 players on a baseball team, I can't tell you. I do not waste my time. For me personally, like I know a lot of people love sports. I grew up watching sports.
And I remember you were telling me from what I remember, this is like maybe 2-3 years ago, you were saying that you don't even watch sports like that. You don't
not anymore.
You don't care about watching sports.
Not anymore.
Why, was there a certain point?
So what happened was in 2016 when I came across this YouTube video. I don't remember, but I remember this specifically. Cleveland was down 3-1 to Golden State in the series. I came across this video. And this is the Golden State team that won 72 games.
Yeah, 73 games.
Sorry, they beat the Bulls record.
73-9.
This was the team and I come across, and this guy's telling me, he was using what he called gematria. It's this number stuff.
Yeah.
And he was saying, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. It's all rigged and scripted, And I was like, this guy's nonsense. Cleveland's not winning this series. But I go, you know what? I'm going to humor this video because what he's kind of saying is ringing a little bit true. Yeah. And I said, I'm gonna put some money on Cleveland to come back to win. I had literally, I remember the 17-1 to come back in the series. To win the championship. It was 17-1. Yeah, so if you put $100, that's
for people at home, they don't know what 17-1 is.
If you put $100, that's $1,700.
Okay.
Anyway, and then they win Game 5, and then Green gets suspended.
Yeah.
Then they win Game 6. And he makes this video saying that there's going to be some epic dunk where LeBron's going to finish it, and that'll be the game. And then it happened, but he missed the dunk. Somebody tried to foul him.
Yeah, exactly. Draymond.
I go like this. I honestly, when you break it down, then you start to dive deep on your sports tickets. It doesn't say it has to be an authentic event. It just says they offer entertainment. If you turn the back of your basketball ticket, it doesn't have to say it has to be authentic. And then you start to think about it. They call it WWE. people don't want to hear this, but they're going to try to find a storyline that sells. So when I used to watch wrestling, it was like The Rock and Stone Cold.
Attitude Era.
They would sell that storyline. They would build that up. Why? Because they knew what would bring in the most revenue. So they always say, if you're swimming upstream, it takes energy to swim upstream. So that's vitality. If you want to go downstream, you could be dead and you can go downstream.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I could be dead and I'll go with the current. But to really challenge the views of what society has, you got to start swimming upstream. But how do you do that? You got to be convicted in what you're doing. So when people are saying to me, don't teach Bitcoin, I was like, no. And I'm not telling them to invest in Bitcoin. I'm teaching them how to think outside the box, shift your mindset. I'm teaching them about what's out there. I'm teaching them, instead of playing video games all day, you can better yourself. And you don't even need a formal education. I think it was Mark Twain that said, I don't let schooling get in the way of my education. Think about that for a second. What does he mean by that? Mark Twain said this. Couldn't verify it. I think it's Twain. But he says, I don't let schooling get in the way of my education. What he's saying is, formal education is not going to teach you what you need to know. It's going to teach you how to be a nice little conformist.
Yeah, and that's
so. I mean, that's that. At the end of the day, I'm not that. I'm just not. So if you tell me that I'm not to do something, and I know that it's for the best interest of my students, and there was a tweet that Pat showed me from a kid. He said teachers were talking shit about Tucci back in 2013 when he's talking about Bitcoin. He's like, what are they? Well, I wonder what they're saying now.
Yeah, where are they now?
You know what I mean? And I get a lot of teachers tell me it's too volatile. I said, at what point is it not too volatile? Because when I told you at $400 to buy Bitcoin, it's too volatile. Then it was 2,000, it's too volatile. Then 10,000, too volatile. Now 50,000, too volatile. It's going to 100,000. They're going to say the same thing. It's too volatile. Instead of saying, you know what, I think I can afford a 5% allocation to Bitcoin. So if I have 10,000 to invest, what's 5,000? $500? I don't know.
Yeah.
Quick math.
It's nothing. It's like 5%. I don't know.
Dip your toe. Get some skin in the game. If it goes to zero, you lose nothing. You lose your 5%. But it will shift everything you think about. Can you imagine if I said you invest in my, let's say I had an account, a bank account, or a bank. I owned a bank. And I said, Mark, invest your money here. I'll give you 20% return. If you deposit money here, I'll give you 20% return. You know what that would do for young kids? Here's an example. Today, 2 kids came to my class from Auto Shop, and they needed a teacher. And I said, he's not here or whatever. And then we just started talking, and I said, so he's taking auto. I said, are you thinking of getting into the trades? He goes, yeah, I want to get into trade. I don't know which trade to get into. And I start telling him, I go, well, there's good money. You're going to make good money. If you have a good work ethic, getting into the trade, you're going to make good money. He goes, yeah, I know that. And I said, the problem is you're going to spend too much of the money that you make. And he goes, you know what? I don't even know how to start with investing. So there's a fear, right? Fear is crippling. False evidence appearing real. That's what fear.
Yeah, that's
so. So I said to him, you have to understand that your status means nothing in out there. Like, so what? I want to have a nice car so I can maybe meet a girl that I want to date or try to impress, right? So I said, me personally, just from my vantage point, and I had a discussion with this other guy, and I was saying, I want to be the kind of guy that has a $10,000 car with a $100,000 bank account. I don't want to be that guy that has a $100,000 car with a $10,000 bank account, because that guy's telling you, I'm just here for show. I want to be that. I don't want people to know. You don't want that. You want to be humble. You want to grind. You want that still. You gotta love the grind. You gotta love to learn. So that's what we envision education to be, a place where we have teachers, students, all having this thirst to learn. So there's another quote by Buckminster Fuller that I always use. It says, you cannot take down an institution, an existing institution. You can't change it. What you have to do is create a new institution that's so much far superior than the old one that nobody wants to use the old one anymore.
That it becomes extinct.
And that's why people are afraid of crypto, because it's so much more superior for a monetary system. And people who don't use it don't know. Until you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, this is way better. Permissionless, decentralized. Centrally controlled economies favor the rich and the elite. Okay? We suffer. People don't see that. Why? Because they got sports that they can watch. They still can. Because I remember I went to a mechanic changing my car, and we were talking about this with one guy. He's like, I don't care. As long as I have the Bills, the Jays, the Leafs. But he was a construction worker. He works hard. Yep. But he doesn't want to know any of that stuff. So that's fine.
Because it's comfortable to be in that spot as well.
Yeah, because thinking, it's
tough.
It's tough. It's tough because you realize, man, I'm being exploited. And I don't know how to beat this system.
That's the threshold.
Well, think about it. I'm going to try to simplify it, but reduce interest rates to 0. Okay? So to borrow money is cheap for you. So you're going to say, if you qualify, he's like, yeah, I'm going to borrow $200,000. If the bank's going to give me $200,000 for this low interest, I'll take it. So then you say, you know what, I feel like buying a house, or if you qualify. Like I said, you won't qualify now with the way the prices are. But what happens is people are bidding up the housing market's on fire because people have all this money to bid it up. Well, how do you get the money? Well, the central banks are just clicking numbers on a computer. Click, click, click. Let's inflate the money supply. What they don't realize is if you have 10 Orlando jerseys and you have one person to buy those Orlando jerseys, how much can you really sell those Orlando jerseys for?
You wouldn't be able to sell for much, maybe $50.
Thank you.
You have no
but
market.
Let's say you have one Orlando jersey and 1,000 people want that Orlando jersey.
Yeah.
You've reduced the supply. You have this demand. Price is going to go up. So what they're doing is they're inflating inflation. They're inflating the money supply. Okay. Of course, my $1,000 this year is not going to be worth. So say I could buy that for $1,000 this year. Next year it's not going to be $1,000. It's going to be more. Now the problem is this: prices of goods are going up. My pay is not. So how do we?
And then people get excited. Minimum wage goes up $2. This goes up this much.
There's always
the little things that are going to make people temporarily happy, while the big guys are laughing up top.
Yes.
And they're laughing down at us.
That's why I said it's like you're on a wheel, on those rat wheels. You're running as fast as you can, but you're not going anywhere. That's what people don't understand is coming. And I'm sure now they don't know why, but they realize, like, man, I feel like I'm in more of a hardship than ever before. But maybe they don't have enough background, or they didn't study enough, or been around enough people to know that they're being scammed. It's a stealth tax. Their money's being stolen from them. They don't even realize it. So when I was younger, we were outside playing all the time. My father was an immigrant. If you are an immigrant, if you're a child of an immigrant, we got beat. I got beat crazily. So you start to. I understand that. My personality was very impacted. People will say, yeah, but they didn't know any better. Your dad didn't know any better. Like, he beat me in public. It's embarrassing. I would always tell this one story where he beat the shit out of us, me and my brother, in front of our classmates. And my brother, who's a teacher at Mount Carmel, he actually said 20 years later, this was like a few months ago, he said, I found another piece of that story.
More evidence.
Of what happened. So my dad, me and my brother were playing at recess, and very competitive, very, very competitive. And I basically said that if anybody beat me when I was younger, they cheated. That was my thing, right? Yeah. Like, you're not beating me. And that came from, because I was the youngest, everybody would always say when I was young, you're not playing. And it would stew inside me. I'd be like, wait till I get older and I improve my skill set. I had this fire to always compete. So anyway, we were playing, and the game was over. He goes up into the third floor, and I said, we're not done, come back, whatever. He turns around, he kicks me. The teacher sees my brother kick me. He gives me a side kick right to my stomach. I drop. Like, he got me in a great spot. I'm like, oh. And right away, the teacher says, I'm going to call home. from enemies, me and my brother being enemies, we became best friends. All of a sudden, we're like on our hands and knees. We're like, sir, please, whatever you do not call home. That's unacceptable behavior, boys. I go, please, sir, whatever you do not call home. Sure enough, he calls home. If you're an immigrant father, you don't call.
You don't call home.
You don't call home.
Home is not a good place.
Unless my kid is dead.
Yeah.
Then you call home. All right? You don't call home if he's in trouble. So he comes in, and me and my brother, like, we're done. We're finished. I'm in grade 5. He's in grade 6. We are sitting outside the class. Before Dad, let me explain, came out of my mouth and my brother's mouth, he was cranking us with shots in front of everybody. The class went quiet. We went in to get our books. Class is quiet. We come out, killing us. And that was not even at home. We haven't even gotten home yet. When it gets home, it's worse. So the next day, the teacher says, "Boys, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called home." I said, "We told you not to call home." Anyway, 20 years later, so we weren't obviously in the class. One of the guys who my brother still keeps in touch with said, he goes, "Yeah, there were fathers, and then there was your father."
Yeah.
He was like, too much. And as soon as that happened, when you guys left, the teacher said, "Class, I think I made a mistake." He immediately, when we told him, he acknowledged it immediately. We found out 20 years later that he acknowledged, he beat the shit out of us. Even in the podcast, I share a story about my dad choking me. Whereas like I'm gasping for breath. When I started the martial arts class at Xavier, one of the VPs, again, I'm not going to mention any names. I love this guy. One of the VPs says to me, "Tucci, aren't you afraid that you're going to teach them and it's going to incite violence?" I'm like, dude, as a parent, you put your kid in martial arts so they can go fight? Or do you put your kid in martial arts to kind of corral that aggression, have an outlet for that aggression, start to learn discipline, and how to channel that aggression? He's like, excellent point. That's how I knew he was smart, able to change the mindset. Because he came from a perspective of, oh, what if there's more fights on the school ground? That's not good.
Now they're going to do new
They're going
tricks.
to learn it from Tucci's class. And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
If you're violent, you're violent. You're going to do it anyway, whether you take my class or not. This is actually a way that we can kind of hone that aggression. So that's for me what it was. We're meant to. So what's my role? What am I going to do? Let's say I have all the money in the world. Well, my job would be, how do I give back? That would be the focus, because there are people in my life that, good and bad, shaped the way I became. And I'm always evolving. Like we should be students of life. That's what education should be. Surround yourself with people who all they want to do is thirst for knowledge. And then you're exchanging this knowledge to evolve and become a better human being.
Because the knowledge doesn't change. You're going to, those experiences and that whatever you've experienced, it's always going to be there. It's not like these things have changed, but what you give back to the community, as you said.
Well, that's why I'm teaching. That's why I'm in education.
Is that why? And you're happy in education and want to stay?
Yeah. So if I had all the money in the world, I would said to myself, I would still teach the martial arts class. If they told me you got to teach one class, I said I'm teaching that martial arts class. Why? I would do it for free. They pay me though, so I don't want them to take my. They pay me for that.
Give them a big raise. Big raise.
So what I'm saying is that, especially now, there's been a shift. I think March 2020 changed the world.
Yep.
Okay, and if you have the same mindset
March 2020,
you're not going to be able to adapt. And when you're adapting, there's a lot of change. You have to be flexible. And with that flexibility, there's going to be a lot of struggle. Whatever, we have personal struggle, health struggle, family struggles, friend struggles. They're coming. They're coming. And you got to decide what's going to anchor me. What I mean by that is, like, you have a good support group. You have a good support network with you have this studio because of who? Your grandparents.
Yep.
So you have that support when shit hits the fan, so to speak. And some people won't have that. And how do they do it? Listen, the only thing I can think of is, if you're not dead, you're still in the game. Depression is on the rise. So people who are really depressed, they can't even get out of bed. So if you're getting out of bed, that's a win. If you're not, you're going to need help. We need help.
And there's certain days where I'm pretty sure that you even are going to be in bed and you're like, I don't want to do this.
I don't want to get up.
You don't want to get up.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And it's not because of anybody. And sometimes you have to acknowledge that sometimes you may have to stay in bed to get past them to the next day.
That could happen too.
It could happen.
That can happen too.
Because it's not always the right time to move forward.
If I told you get a Bitcoin now, in 10 years, it'll be worth $1 million. You know how hard it is for you to wait till it gets to that $1 million? It's like, am I making the right decision? It went up, it went down, whatever. That's the patience piece. And you have to build conviction in your life. How do you build conviction? Like I said, surround yourself with people. Read. Study. Nobody reads.
Nobody reads anymore.
Nobody reads anymore. How else are you going to learn? You have to read. And then what happens is, or listen to podcasts that are actually enhancing your life. So if I can leave like a last bit of advice, you work hard and you're compassionate as a human being, who cares about what happens? Things are going to fall in place.
And that's a great way to leave it off right there. Tucci, I've loved having you on this episode. One of my favorites, as I always say. I think each episode gets better. And I want to say thank you for coming on. It's been one of the goals of mine actually to bring you on to this podcast, because I was like, I wanted to bring on sort of like I look at you as more of a mentor in terms of where I am in my life right now.
I appreciate that.
It's great to sort of have you on and sort of just realize this and here in Nona's basement out of all places. Yeah. So I want to say thank you. If you have anything, people want to follow, anything that people want to look
I'm
at.
Good. I just, I'm good.
You're a lone wolf.
I'm a lone
One of a kind. You know it.